Hi, this is Kylie. Welcome to my studio and welcome to creating a positivity deck. This is week 4 and the word we'll focus on this week is stillness, and that's still within the slowdown state of being. So this week I invite you to explore stillness with me. My sense of what stillness means and how stillness feels has changed. Previously, I always thought stillness meant not moving and there being no noise, and the way to that would only be through meditation or prayer. And although I still practice that, to find stillness in this way, I have actually come to think of stillness in other ways. I've come to realise that for me, I don't have to be physically still, and there doesn't need to be an absence of sound or noise for me to find stillness, because I've realised that stillness comes from within. I don't have it all the time, but I'm working on having it more often. For me, stillness is very much linked to intention, and perhaps I should say positive intention. So if I go out for a walk, whether it be just for the simple pleasure of a walk or to get some exercise, if I do that with positive intention, the positive intention of enjoying it, then I'm more likely to find stillness. Now for me, that's more likely to be found walking in the countryside or by the sea, generally somewhere quiet. But I have also found it walking through cities. Imagine having to rush somewhere, perhaps running to catch a train. It's difficult to find stillness in this, because other than the positive intention of wanting to rush to get on the train, we're not actually focusing on that journey. So instead, think about having time to walk to the train, and perhaps, if in a city, to look at the architecture around. And think about sitting down to enjoy the process of making a piece of art or craft, to enjoy every single step from start to finish, rather than rushing to finish a project. So for me, it's this latter approach in which I find stillness, enjoying each and every step and not rushing. That's not to say that at times I don't rush projects. Of course I do. We generally all find ourselves there. But by and large, and through this series, I'm trying to make art with intention. I'm trying to find stillness when I make these cards. And that's why I don't worry about what it looks like, but rather I approach it from a place of stillness within and allow the stillness to come forth in what I create. And that's why I approach each piece intuitively. So focusing on the word, writing out my thoughts, and then trying to imbue those positive thoughts, that positivity, into the cards that I create. Now, I don't necessarily do that with all my art, but it is what I'm aiming to do more and more often. And that's what I invite you to do if you're making a positivity card and deck. So today, I would invite you to consider the following. What does stillness mean to you? Do you recognise when you experience stillness? And are you aware of it at the time? Or do you reflect later and realise that you were still and that you were experiencing stillness? Are there positive things that you can do to help you find stillness more often? And those are the questions that I was addressing in my little journal before I turn to doing my card. And so once I've finished my journaling, I read my notes once more and turn to my card and just start to feel my way into the process of starting to decorate the card. I don't rush this in any way. I just take some time to think about it. And now I'm ready to decorate the card. Now, while previously I've gessoed the other side of the card, I decide today that I want to attach some paper to the front. And this is just simply a sheet of mixed media paper. And all I'll do is to use some gel matte medium to glue it in place. And although I'm not putting gesso on as my first step, I'm still very intentional with the gel matte medium that I'm putting on here. I still, in a sense, want to be intentional with each and every stroke and enjoy each and every stroke. And I'm being careful to line it up, and then I'll be careful just pressing it down and into place to make sure that I don't damage the card. I then cut around the card just loosely to begin with, and then I'll tidy up the edges. So my card is now ready to decorate, and I'm taking these two chalk sprays that I've used previously, and all I'm going to do is put a layer, using both colours, a layer on the card. Now at this point I thought about using a heat tool to dry the card, but then I felt that I could use some inks and put them straight into the card while it was still wet. So I'm starting with this terracotta colour. And I then just drop it directly onto the card. I then take the turquoise colour, and again I'll just do likewise. And then red violet. And at this stage I'm not thinking about what I'm going to do with them, I'm just dropping colour on. Now they hadn't spread quite as much as I thought, so I add some water, just to loosen the colours up a bit and to start them spreading. And at this point I'm really just playing, letting the colours move around and drip off the card. I have absolutely no idea what sort of effect I'm going to get. Of course I don't want to waste that colour, so I take that piece of mixed media paper that I'd been using and I just set the card on top of that so that it will catch any excess. And I see the pattern forming. So I then take this orange ink and I plan to put some of this on. But the ink is actually quite thick. I've not used it for a while. And it comes out in a rather unexpected way as this blob. So again I water it down a little, but it's not actually separating. But I'm not going to let that worry me. I just look at it and there's something about it that I like. I could have tried to take it right off, but I didn't want to. I wanted to keep it. So I just took a brush and started to break up the blob and just to work it round. And in a sense this was very much intuitive. It felt like a circle was required. And to me it started to look like the sun. And I liked the little dots that had gone off to the side. So the card was very wet, so I decided it would need a dry before I worked on it anymore. And again the ink's just still moving about. I've no direct control over where it's going to go, so I don't know how it's going to end up. As I laid the card to the side, I started to play about with the other piece of paper. And again just watered down the ink. And I just enjoyed sitting looking at that and how the inks were mixing, knowing that I have a piece of card here that I'll be able to use again in future. And in a sense, just for those few seconds or so that I was playing about with that, I found stillness. So I'm now returning to my card and I decide to break up those little blobs of orange just a little bit more. And all I'm doing is dabbing, and that's creating a texture. Again, not planned, it's just what came. And I like it, so I continue a bit more. And I like the way the colour is spreading out. And I look at this and I see what appears to be almost an avenue of trees. As I've said in previous weeks, there comes a point where I think I could almost leave a card and just walk away from it at this stage, that it feels done. And that's more or less how I felt with this card. I wanted to do a little bit more work. What had come to my mind at one point was creating a big tree as a kind of focal point, just underneath the sun there. But then I felt that it didn't need it, because I could see stillness in this card. I could see this row of trees that drew my eye right into the card. So all I'm going to do now is just a little bit more work, just where I feel that it needs it. So taking this deep indigo and just working it around. It's an Inktense pencil, and what I'll do in a moment is just to take some water, just to spread that out a little bit. And again, just being very intentional, taking my time. I'm not rushing. I'm not making big sweeping strokes, just little strokes. And I play with that colour, and I look at where I think it should sit, and I just move it about. There's no right or wrong here. I'm just playing. I'm just going intuitively with it. But it's certainly starting to feel like a sky to me. Adding a bit more colour in places. And as I do it, with just small, gentle strokes, I'm being drawn more and more into the scene that's developing in front of me. And I take a second to look at it once more. And I'm now taking some ink black, and all I want to do is emphasise a little bit of the foreground. And as I do that, I feel that I can see a line of trees on the right hand side as well. So just smoothing that line out ever so gently, just taking my time. There's no rush, the card will take as long as it takes. And then I just start to flick my brush up the way, just to create that sense of there being trees on that side as well. I could see them ever so slightly, and I just wanted to create a bit more definition to them. And I look at the first row of trees that was there, and I start to play with them a little bit. Again, just to give a little bit more definition. I like the kind of hazy effect, but I just want to bring them out ever so slightly more. But I now take tangerine and poppy red, and I'm going to start to do a bit more work on the sun. And even just sitting drawing the circles round there, I'm finding a kind of peace and stillness just in that very small process of taking the pen or the pencils around them. And likewise, I do the same with the paintbrush. And I dab that a little, partially to dry some of the excess off, but also still to create or have that feeling of texture that was caused in the first place by the blob of ink. And I'll turn again now to the sky, and I'm just taking another ink tense, this time in antique white. And ever so gently, I'll just start to add small strokes to the sky, which again, I'll take a brush with some water and just move the colour out a little bit. And then I come back to the trees in the foreground with the bark. Again, just working on a little bit of definition on the trees. I don't want to change their overall shape in any way. All I want to do is just to highlight some little bits with that darker colour. And again, I use a little bit of that in the foreground. And once more I turn my attention to the sun. I'm just moving around the card as it calls me, just adding little tiny bits of detail here and there. At this point, I don't know exactly how long it will take me to work on this card. I'm just working away with intention, and I'll know in myself when it's finished, or at least a point that I want to stop. So adding a little bit of that colour to the sky, just sensing that with the sun as bright, the clouds would be picking up some of that colour. And again, just working it out ever so gently. And at this point I stop and I look and I sense that my card has come to the point where I want to leave it, other than adding my word, stillness. Now, just as I finish this off, I'd like to say a big thank you to the other YouTubers who are doing some of the positivity cards, and in no particular order they are ZC Creates, Patricia Stubbs, Max Lockley, Leanne Palmer, Crafting Vicky and Jean Rosser, and I'll leave links to all their channels in the description box below. And if I've missed anyone, then please do let me know. I'd also like to say a big thank you to everyone that's joined the Positivity Deck Facebook group. Thank you for sharing your work and your thoughts on this, and also to others sharing in other social media places such as Instagram. I really do appreciate you all participating in such a way. So now just one or two final finishing touches, just adding little bits of white perhaps where the trees are catching the light. And at that, I feel that the card is done, and that I've imbued that sense of stillness, and what stillness means for me. I again did not necessarily expect it to turn out this way, but that's just what came as I sat down to create. So, can I take this opportunity to thank you all for watching. Thank you all for your kind comments. I'm so pleased that so many people are enjoying this, and I hope you continue to get something from it. So many thanks and best wishes to you all, and I hope to see you all again next week. In the meantime, bye for now.